You know that feeling, right? That deep, primal urge, hunger. Well, it turns out the story behind how our brains even control that feeling is just incredible. It involves this massive evolutionary plot twist, where a chemical that once screamed, "Eat!" completely flipped its job description. We're going to get into this amazing story of serotonin, hunger, and a fundamental rewiring of the brain.
So let's start with that. We all know the feeling, that gnawing emptiness, that laser focus on finding food. But what is actually happening up here? What's the master switch that's controlling this incredibly basic drive? Well, the answer involves a chemical that over evolutionary time completely reversed its role.
To really get this, we've got to go way, way back. I'm talking hundreds of millions of years. We need to look at the original, ancient signal for hunger that was pretty much universal across the animal kingdom. And here's the main character in our story, serotonin, or 5-HT, as scientists call it. Now, we hear about it all the time with mood and stuff, right? But its original ancient job was way more fundamental. It was all about the most basic needs of life, finding food and eating it. For a huge chunk of the animal kingdom, think invertebrates, simple animals, the rule was super simple. When serotonin levels went up, it was like a green light in the brain. It just directly switched on that appetite mode, basically shouting, "Hey, you're hungry. Go find food right now." And in these simpler animals, it worked as this really powerful positive feedback loop. Serotonin would fire up the network that controls feeding, and the more active that network got, the more serotonin was involved, which just amped up the drive to eat even more. It was a simple, powerful gas pedal, no brakes. And the science on this is crystal clear. This quote basically tells us that if you take, say, a sea slug or a leech and you inject it with extra serotonin, you literally make it hungrier. You lower the bar for what it's willing to eat. So the main takeaway here is, in these animals, more serotonin equals more hunger. Period. Simple as that. Okay, but then, somewhere along the evolutionary road that led to us, something absolutely incredible happened. The entire system just did a complete 180. That's right. The same chemical that's the gas pedal in a sea slug is the brake in your brain. In vertebrates, that includes us, higher serotonin activity is actually linked to appetite suppression. The go signal became the stop signal. It's just wild. And you can actually see this evolutionary change in the brain's architecture. In a mollusk, the serotonin neurons are kind of scattered all over the place. But in a primate brain, they got all concentrated into these specific clusters called the raphe nuclei. So this wasn't just, a software update. The hardware itself was totally reorganized. I mean, look at this. The change was total. The neuron layout goes from scattered to concentrated. The role in appetite flips from gas pedal to brake, and even how the neurons talk to each other changed, from basically go, go, go to whoa, slow down. This wasn't a minor adjustment. It was a complete system overhaul. So how in the world did this happen? How does an entire neurochemical system just flip its main function? Well, it looks like a new management team staged a kind of coup inside the brain. And that's the logical next question, right? If the old system for telling the brain, "I'm hungry," got repurposed to say, "I'm full," something else must have stepped in to take over the job of making us feel hungry in the first place. And here they are, the new bosses. A totally different network of chemicals called peptides. You can think of them like specialized messengers, took control. With star players like the orexins, these peptides became the new primary go signal for appetite and being alert in the vertebrate brain. So the new system in our brains is way more complex, more hierarchical. You've got orexins at the center, driving appetite. They actually activate the serotonin system, but, and this is the crucial part, that system then puts the brakes back on the orexins. So serotonin isn't the driver anymore. It's become a governor, a way to fine-tune that primary go signal. So let's just sum that up real quick. The job of appetite driver got handed off from serotonin to peptides. And the whole control system went from being a simple direct on switch to this much more complex, nuanced system of drivers and governors and feedback loops. Okay, this is all fascinating, but what's the big picture? Why go through all this trouble to completely rewire the brain? Well, the answer takes us from simple gut feelings to the very foundation of complex thought itself. The difference in complexity here is just stark. For a sea slug, feeling full is basically a mechanical signal. Its stomach is physically stretched. That's pretty much it. For us, Oh, it's a whole symphony of signals. Yes, sure, gut stretch is part of it, but our brain is also listening to hormones from our fat cells, our stomach, and it's constantly monitoring our blood sugar. It's an incredibly rich stream of data.
And this shift leads to a profound change in decision-making. The old system was all about the right now. Is my gut full or not? The new, complex system allows the brain to make decisions based on long-term energy reserves. So the brain is no longer just a stomach monitor. It's become a full-blown energy accountant.
And this is the key. This is the big consequence. This new wiring allows for foresight. It makes planning possible. It allows for estimating value and assessing risk in a way that goes far beyond the immediate moment. It's the difference between just eating whatever's in front of you and actual strategic resource management.
And right here, the source material just lays out this grand hypothesis, this connection, the link between our long-term energy stores, like fat, and the brain circuits that control our drives. This might be the very foundation, the critical substrate that our complex brains and behaviors were built on.
So let's end with this one. Kind of provocative thought. Could this huge evolutionary U-turn, this rewiring of a simple hunger signal into a sophisticated energy management system, be one of the key steps that paved the way for everything we think of as uniquely human? Our ability to plan, to cooperate, to build societies. Could all of it have been enabled by a new way of thinking about our next meal? It's a pretty powerful idea to chew on.